Historic District Commission. I am Chairperson David Rockland. The time is 7:03, and we'll begin with some notes about the meeting format. Remote participation in this meeting is available by telephone or through online video conferencing. Please see the meeting agenda for remote participation contact information, including phone numbers and the web link. There is public comment available in person or by telephone during the meeting comment agenda item and during each public hearing. Finally, here's an overview of the sequence of events for each hearing on the agenda. First, Planning Services staff will deliver their report, followed by a report from this month's Commissioner Review Committee. Then the applicant will provide their presentation and answer any questions from the commissioners. At that point, the hearing will be open for public comment. Following public comment, the commission will make a motion and discuss the application. Finally, the approval from a majority of commissioners present will be required for a certificate of appropriateness to be granted. And in fact, we need 4 commissioners here for a quorum. We only have 3 right now. We will continue through the meeting as long as we can and do as much as we can here. But first things first, Ms. Thatcher, will you please call the roll?
I will, and just a note to CTN. I think you probably know this, Rob, but we just lost the Zoom. Commissioner Calderon.
Here.
Commissioner Nisbet.
Here.
Commissioner Rockland.
Here.
Commissioner Ross. Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Carter. And Commissioner Kaplan is expected. You are working on a quorum, but you're not quite there yet.
Right, and besides Commissioner Kaplan, others were expected. I know Commissioner
No.
Carter was out.
No.
And
we just have
Commissioner-
Only Kaplan's coming. Yep.
So Smith and Ross are both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I believe Kaplan said he couldn't come.
No, he changed his
Oh,
plans.
got it,
Said he couldn't come, then he said he could
Yeah,
come.
so that we could have the meeting, which
Got
was
it.
very nice of him.
Got it. Okay, well, hopefully he shows up soon, so we can get to our hearing especially. But we do have some other work to get to before that, and we can stall with some other things to hopefully get here. It would be, yeah, anyway, let's just move on to the approval of the agenda. I'm guessing there are not any changes to tonight's agenda, and I'm not hearing or seeing any, so we'll just approve the agenda as presented and move on to public comment. That's item D on the agenda. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to the Historic District Commission for up to 3 minutes about an issue that is not listed as a public hearing on this agenda. We don't have anyone here stepping forward to the podium, and did I hear that we've lost our Zoom meeting?
Yes.
What is
yeah.
going on? What happened?
I don't know.
Yeah, we
There
don't-
might be an internet problem in the building.
Right, okay.
I'm thinking.
And that is
But it-
how the
We're not-
callers would attend the public,
They can still call in by phone,
to what?
but I don't know if they're able to watch this live or not. It
Right,
might
okay.
still be, they might still hear our voices on
Yeah.
CTN, I don't know.
Okay. This counts as public comment, like if you just have this?
Yeah, it's
Does this
fine.
count?
Yep.
Okay, good,
Yep.
because that's critical, so we've got that taken care of. Apologies to anyone who was on Zoom or is trying to call in and it's not working, but that is,
You're right that they couldn't call in, so yes, that is unfortunate.
yeah, so sorry about that. But we will move on from public comment. The next item is unfinished business, and we don't have any unfinished business this month. And so we would generally go on to hearings, but since we don't have a quorum yet, perhaps we should just trudge on ahead
Sure.
and see if, and see what happens here. But the longer we go here, the more I'm just concerned that Steve maybe isn't showing up.
Well,
Do you have your phone out? I mean, he would call maybe, or?
I can, then I can just step out and give him a call.
Okay. It would be nice to know.
Maybe you could talk about the review committee for next month.
Yeah, that sounds good.
He's almost there, he says.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Okay, great.
All right.
So let's go on to new business. And we do have new business, but I'm wondering
We should probably hold off on that, too.
yeah, because who was the,
Ben,
who
were you
was
the nominating
nominating
committee?
committee for that?
Chip.
I feel like it
Commissioner
was
Smith.
Chip, yeah. So we can't do that anyway.
Okay.
Is that okay to postpone that one? We, I guess we
We'll
have
talk
to,
about
right?
it. We'll talk about it when we get there. When we get a quorum, we'll talk about it.
We can talk about that when we get a quorum, and we
Yes.
probably can't approve the minutes without a quorum.
Probably not.
But we can go to assignments, so let's take care of that. So next month, it's Monday, November 10th. I'm down at J. It's a noon review committee for the Thursday meeting. Are either of you
Are either
interested
you-
in that, or can you do, I think noon is hard for you, right, Ben?
I think I could probably do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Then I
Thank you,
will
Commissioner Nisbet. Much
I will-
appreciated.
recruit a second
Yeah, we'll-
volunteer from the others.
We'll swing back around.
Okay.
And-
I can talk for a minute about the annual retreat.
Yeah, great.
So I sent out a poll, I think most people did it, not quite everybody. That was November 8th was the date that seemed to work the best so far, the last time I checked it. I have a counter proposal, though. Since we usually have our big retreat in the spring, and since we're gonna now be off schedule and be doing two really close together, like if we do one in November and one in April, we're not gonna have much to do in April.
Okay.
So, and I don't really want to get on a fall schedule all the time, because, I don't know. It's a thing we do in the spring. And then I
Okay.
can report that we did it on
Okay.
my annual report.
Okay, all right.
So,
Yeah, I don't think we have a preference. I mean, whatever's better for you.
What I'm going to propose is that we hold the annual retreat, because we need to,
Yeah.
next month, because I have no one coming in that I'm talking to about projects. So we might have no applications. next
Oh.
month. We never have no applications when I expect no applications, but it might be a really light month, we
Okay.
only have one or two. So.
As a proposal, you're
As a-
saying after the
As a
meeting.
counter-proposal, just to hold the November meeting, when it's done, get done at 8 o'clock or whatever,
Yeah.
and then have a sort of a condensed version
Yeah.
for an hour or so. We
Yeah,
can go through the built slides,
Yeah.
and we can go through the bylaws that we have to look at every year.
Right.
And
Just do
instead
like
of
an hour and a half or
3-hour,
something.
have
Yeah.
like an hour and
Yeah.
a half retreat. Yeah.
That's way better than meeting on a Saturday.
Okay, okay,
I agree. Yeah.
okay, good.
Now, if 5 or 6 projects come in,
And then we'll.
should we hold the 8th? I think people should hold the 8th on
Make
their
a pot of
calendar
coffee.
Yeah.
Here till.
until we hear from you.
1 a.m.
I can make a final call.
Yeah, like at some point you'll make the call.
2 weeks from tomorrow when
Yeah.
applications are due.
Yeah.
And then we'll know if there are going to be 5 or if there's going to be 1. or
Yeah.
Something in between. Okay. Good.
Because we have to hold one in 2025, and if we don't, if we don't get the 8th, we're doomed,
cutting
I'm
it
sure.
close.
Yeah. Okay, very good.
All right, thank you for that.
Yeah, so that's about it.
I
mean, there's-
apologize to anyone who's in our viewing public, but we have no communications. I don't know if any of you have any concerns.
Do we want to take this moment to try to restart Zoom and like, because we have a few minutes here.
Well, I did a couple of times, but sure, I'll do it again. Didn't seem like our meeting number, but.
I think we're taking a break right now. Yeah, yeah. Let's take 5.
Was he watching the cameras?
Yeah, he's in a little room over there watching. So maybe they can see us. Maybe we're being.
Well,
live
it
streamed right
looks
now.
like the cameras are. Commissioner Kaplan is here, and we've got 4 commissioners, so we're going to circle back around in the agenda. We've been through A through E, and so we're going to go back to F, hearings. And we've got one hearing tonight. It's F1, it's 514 6th Street. We've got the Zoom back up and running, so we should be okay, and I'll just pass it over to Ms. Thatcher. Whenever you're ready, the staff report, please.
Thank
you.
All right. 514 6th Street is in the Old West Side Historic District. It's a contributing structure with a non-contributing garage. The house has an interesting history, and it's been to the HCC a couple of times. I'm not going to get into a lot of that, but it was it's been there since at least 1884. Wow. And the garage that we're going to be talking about tonight was built between 1984 and 1993. It's on the west side of 6th Street, south of West Jefferson and north of West Madison, and the applicant is seeking HCC approval to alter the non-contributing garage by adding a second story and a 2-story addition. All right, running through the photos. This is the front of the house looking down the driveway. Get a lot of perspectives here down the driveway.
Mm-hmm.
So the proposal is to add a second story onto this existing garage and to add another addition on the side that's set back a little bit that wraps around the back. You'll see those drawings in a moment. You can see that the garage is pretty close to the house here. The number is in the staff report here somewhere. I'll get to it in a sec. And it was built in the 80s. You know, it's a typical 80s garage. I've always thought it was interesting that someone went to the trouble to put a little octagonal window above a big window, but it's all good. This is the back of the house. Some of you will recall that this house has had many additions on the back, and the current applicant and the homeowners went through some great efforts a few years ago to sort of make it all work better. It was a mishmash of additions, and they changed some roof lines and tied some things together so that it looks a little more unified, and then they put a small addition on the back and then a screen porch also on the back. You can see the garage is over here on the left. There's a big tree here in the back. I was not able to attend the review committee visit, so I would, when it's the applicant's turn to talk, I'm going to ask him whether there's a tree in the back, whether it's going to stay or not behind the garage. But we'll get to that in a sec. These are just some views. This is looking north at the neighbor's property. You can see that they've got a garage over there. And this is the back of the garage. Not much going on there. And this is looking to the south. I believe that this is the other neighbor's garage in the back. Okay, so existing garage is here. It is, I believe it's like a 19 or 18 by 22 foot footprint. Proposed addition is on the back. It'll make more sense to our viewing audience once we get to the elevations. But driveway is proposed to stay. Here is the main floor plan. Garage is staying there, still a garage. We've got a little porch on the side with an entry for an ADU. These stairs go upstairs to this accessory dwelling unit. That's a little apartment with a living area and a Murphy bed and a kitchen and a bath. And on the back of the garage, you'd have to go through the garage to get to it, it looks like, is a little studio room that's not part of the ADU. It's completely separate. Here's a rendering of what the modified garage would look like. It's got some new garage doors. All the windows on the new structure, I believe, are casement or fixed, but their proportions are appropriate for the vertical, hung windows on the house. Here we're looking at it from the backyard. This is the back of the house. Entry door to the garage. There's an entry door into the apartment here. So this is the stairs that go up. This is a workout room down here, and this is the stairs that go up to the apartment. All right, this is the existing front of the house. It's got this is the front door. This is the around the corner front door, and this is the front door. This is the side door that's pushed back. Hard to tell from this perspective, but it's not like there are 3 doors all in the same plane there. And here's the proposed ADU garage next to it. You can see that the proposed ridge height matches that of one of the additions. It's a little bit lower than the roof ridge of the house, which is appropriate. I'm not sure what the roof pitch is, but the design guidelines say it should match what's on the house. And obviously the house has a few going on, but this is the main one. It might be a little bit shallower than the main house, but I do think that it's still compatible. It's close. This is the front elevation, the east-facing elevation of just the garage, without the house in the way. You can see here that portion. This is the new front door to the ADU. A portion of the building is behind the house. There is it's very thorough description of the materials in the packet. I didn't include all of them in here, I don't think, but it is fiber cement lap siding with a 4-inch exposure that's certainly compatible with what's on the main house. All of the trim dimensions are slightly varied from the house, which is appreciated. This is the current west elevation. This is the back of the house. This is the back of the garage. And this is the new 2-story, this is the second story on the garage. This is the 2 stories added behind them. Now we are on the south elevation. This is the side that's not by the driveway. And this is the new structure in the backyard. Finally, we have the north elevation, which is the driveway side, and the new structure. These were some of the doors that are non-original, non-historic in the main house, and the one on the ADU would match them. The trim dimensions I mentioned. Windows are all proposed to be clad. From the Secretary of Interior standards that most apply, number 2 says the historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The removal of historic materials or alteration of features and spaces that characterize a property will be avoided. Number 9 says new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the property. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. Number 10 says new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. From the Secretary of Interior's guidelines for building site, it's recommended to design new exterior additions to historic buildings or adjacent new construction, which is compatible with the historic character of the site, which preserve the historic relationship between a building or buildings, landscape features, and open space. In fact, I'm going to switch over here to my staff reports. Actually, I'm going to come back to that. Also recommended for building site is to retain the historic relationship between buildings, landscape features, and open space. Not recommended is introducing new construction onto the building site which is visually incompatible in terms of size, scale, design, materials, color, and texture, or which destroys historic relationships on the site. Also not recommended is introducing a new building or site feature that is out of scale or of an otherwise inappropriate design. From the guidelines for district or neighborhood setting, it's not recommended to introduce new construction into historic districts that is visually incompatible or that destroys historic relationships within the setting. From the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for new residential accessory structures, it's appropriate to retain the historic relationship between buildings, landscape features, and open spaces. It's also appropriate to locate sheds and garages in the rear yard. It is appropriate to use exterior wall and roof materials that are compatible with historic materials on the main structure and in the neighborhood. It's appropriate to use a roof shape and a pitch that replicates the shape and pitch of the roof of the main structure. And it's appropriate to use windows and doors that are compatible in proportion and style to the main structure and the neighborhood. It's not appropriate to introduce new structures or site features that are out of scale with the property or the district or are otherwise inappropriate. zoom back up here a sec. All right, let's see. So the garage is currently 400 square feet. This is pretty typically what I recommend as a maximum size for accessory structures on Old West Side lots. This is a full-size Old West Side lot, which is great. They're around 65 by 130. This is a good example of one. A lot of them have been divided, and so you'll get two houses on half, each half, one on each half of the historic lot, but not this one. The addition has a 374 square foot footprint on the south side, and it would all result in a 1,466 square foot structure, which is just a hair smaller than the original size of the house. So it is like putting a structure the size of a typical small Old West Side house in the backyard. The height's tall but appropriate because it is lower than the ridge of the historic house. I talked about materials a little bit. The materials are all very compatible. The dimensions of them are compatible. I'm fine with the casement windows because this would be a modern structure. I threw in here, it's important to note that each lot and its structures and features are treated as unique because they are. And structures approved by the HDC do not set a precedent for other properties reviewed in the future. This is for you all to keep in mind, both looking at past projects and after looking at this project, in the future. Each application is weighed against the standards and guidelines on its own merits. Staff thinks that the structure is too large and too close to the house, and recommended to the applicant that they shrink the footprint and height and push the structure toward the rear of the lot to get more distance between the house and the garage. That's one of the things I'm mainly concerned about is this distance right here. It's pretty darn close. I believe it's like 8 or 10 feet. And when you're making it taller, it's only competing more here with the house. And it's going to call more attention to itself. I really have concerns about this view. I appreciate that the sloped roof here is over the staircase and to get upstairs, and that's a little bit lower. But the building is just, it's pretty massive to put in your backyard. It's bigger than any barn would have been. Well, I don't know about that. I shouldn't say that. But this lot, we don't know of any barn or other structure that it had historically. And even if it hadn't, it probably would have been pushed back farther. And these drawings are kind of unfair because this garage is, I don't know, it's probably 40 feet from the road or something. So take that with a grain of salt. So it's good that these renderings were provided because that's much more helpful. But I do worry about the overwhelming feeling that this house has a lot going on. It wasn't a very big house to start with. It's a lot bigger now than it was historically. And now we're putting another big structure right alongside of it. It will definitely change the feel of the backyard because it'll fill up more of it. But again, this is a full-size city lot, so I'm less concerned about that. I'm more concerned about its proximity to the house and its overall mass. So staff does not believe that the work is compatible in massing, size, and scale to the historic house, and that it does not meet Secretary of the Interior Standard 9. I think that's most of it. And then I went through some individual guidelines that I believe that it was not compatible with, that it was not in keeping with. And so staff believes that the new structure is out of scale with the property and surrounding properties and is visually incompatible because of its height and size. Thank you.
Can you comment on that back corner of the house, and is that an addition? Is that an original historic part of the house, or is that an addition? Because it's a little confusing. There's been so many additions in the back.
Yeah, there was an addition back there. There was a 1.5-story addition. Let me see if I can. This part of the house is original.
Thank you.
This dormer was added at some point. I think that was also There was a lot of work done in this house in the 80s. I believe that was part of it. So this side porch was built during the period of significance. You can see it on the 1947 aerial that's in the packet. Sorry, I don't have that in the slideshow. Most of the additions were on the other side of the house. This over here was a narrow single story, and then it got bumped to the side, and then it got bumped up. So,
Yep. Thank you very much.
sure. That's it from staff.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So we'll move on now to the review committee report. Commissioner Nisbet and myself are on the review committee. So Commissioner Nisbet, do you want to give your report, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think being on site and looking at what they had proposed, I had similar concerns to the staff finding in regards of how it's going to maintain some of the open space and sort of that view through and to the backyard. And a little bit of worry about the size and the massing, and that it sort of becomes almost like a blockade of building and roof lines that feels out of character with the neighborhood and what's there, and that it is a pretty imposing addition, and as was reported in the staff finding, pretty close to the contributing structure. So that was my kind of main concern. I did wonder about one of the trees having to maybe go, the mature tree in the backyard, but I feel like that may go no matter what changes happen to that proposal. But I think the main thing was maintaining that kind of open space and the relationship between buildings on the property that is characteristic of the neighborhood. That was my overall impression.
Thank you very much. I will add that, from the sidewalk, the garage, it's not the furthest garage back on a lot you've ever seen, but it is, I think it's, according to the site plan, it's more than halfway back. It feels back, it's behind the house for sure. So there is that. So it must be like 65, probably around 70 feet from the sidewalk. It looks like, right, there's no dimension there, but it looks like it's at least further than halfway back on the 130 lot side. So anyway, it does feel like the garage is back away from the sidewalk. It feels like it's behind the house. It definitely feels close to the house also, close to that back corner. So both of those things are true. If you look kind of to each side, there's kind of a variety of accessory structures like around on 6th Street, kind of all over the place. There does happen to be an enormous accessory structure that was probably built outside of the current regulations right next door. So I really can understand the homeowner probably looking at that every day and thinking, I want that because it looks amazing. So there is that, and that's there. That's part of the context. And then next door, there's just a kind of looked like a contributing maybe or similar kind of a accessory structure right across the property line from this property line. And that was also in a kind of a similar location or even pushed a little bit far back. So if you think about that neighbor who's right across the fence, this is going to be some big imposing thing, but their garage is right there. So I don't think it's going to have a huge impact really on either neighbor. It certainly will change the views in the back of the, in the backyard there because it's new 2-story structure. But in terms of like looming over some other structure like the property line, it doesn't seem like there's an issue there. Yeah, so there you can see the garage. And then if the next slide, the previous one, I think had a view of or two back maybe. Yeah. Had a view of the other. I just saw it, so it was either two ahead or two behind. Yeah, right there. There's the 2-story. That's across the property line and then pushed to the other, further south property line. So that's quite a ways away, but it's there. And yeah, that tree that we're looking at right there in the foreground, that's That's right behind the garage, so certainly a huge chunk of the roots of that tree will be cut into for this proposal. Obviously, if you push push a proposal further back, then the tree is totally gone, so that's something to note. All right, so that's the report. We'll now go on to the applicant presentation. So, Steve, would you please come forward at this time, state your name and address for the record. You have 5 minutes to respond to what you've heard and give us your presentation.
Okay. My name is Stephen Varnum. I'm here on behalf of Draft Design Build and the homeowners. My address is 1592 Pike Street in Hazlet, Michigan, 48840. So, thank you, Jill, Sarah, David, for your reports. Jill, I feel like you've done a pretty good job of sort of going through and kind of presenting the history of this house to some degree. And as you noted, this is a property and a set of homeowners that we've sort of worked with quite a bit in the last several years to renovate this property. We did a whole house renovation. I mean, we gutted that entire interior for them. I think it was, you said 5 years ago, I guess, in order to sort of, make it a little bit more of a livable space for them. The things that are being presented here were things that were, part of the program then, which just couldn't realistically be fit, within the boundaries of the existing structure, right? Like there are restrictions, as you know, to how much square footage you can add to a contributing structure. And, there simply wasn't any practical way to get, a mother-in-law's suite, ADU, and an exercise space in them, within the envelope of the original building here. I guess I can't really say whether or not, there's an appropriate scale here or not. I mean, I can say that we certainly have done our best to minimize the footprint as much as we can from a design standpoint to meet our client's program here, but we certainly weren't trying to maximize anything. The ADU itself is, 700 square feet, which is, smaller, for a lot this size. Zoning would allow us to build something, another 100 square foot larger than what we have here. And the workout studio on the main level, you can see, whether it's necessary or not, these are the things that you can see on the plan, which they would like to see in that space. And it's tight, even as drawn. So, in terms of sort of shrinking the square footage of the plan down here, I don't know how well, we really could. I mean, Jill, when we got the notes back from you, we sort of did sort of a crash course over the next couple of days and just kind of stayed in communication with our clients. We had, 3 meetings throughout the course of that kind of 49-hour period. And we looked at 5 different versions, and we shrunk things down. We lowered the roof height a bunch of different ways. We shrunk the footprint down a bunch of different ways. And what we found during that exercise was that, scaling back on the roof was, not as much of a challenge, but scaling back on the square footage didn't have a meaningful impact on sort of how massive the space looked. Obviously, to maintain functionality, there was only so much we could shrink, right? But even the areas that we could shrink didn't produce a noticeable difference in the overall look and feel. And I guess that was, why we sort of decided, all right, well, let's just have this discussion with you guys and see, what are your feelings here? What can we do? Or is this just not a program that is possible to build in a historic district? I don't really know. I mean, I do know that, when we tried to shrink it down, it made it much less effective from a functional standpoint. And, maybe we don't get approved, but I think we wanted to sort of get a better understanding from the group about sort of where you guys are coming from and what the sort of boundaries there are. I feel like we, as a design team and as a staff, and even on behalf of the homeowners, make every effort we can to sort of follow best practices, right? And when there are sort of prescriptive areas within that code, we absolutely follow them to the letter. This is an area of the code, not the code, I guess, of the sort of guidelines that are more subjective, right? And it's much more difficult for us to sort of determine what are the standards that we should be following in this part of the guidance. So I guess if we have strayed too far from what the group feels is the sort of acceptable standard within that practice, I guess we need more clarity on that. I don't think I have anything else to say, or anything else to add.
Very good. We might have some questions for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Does anyone want to go with some questions here? Does anyone have a question?
I have a small one. I don't know where it leads us, but I'm just curious when I'm looking at this, the sort of the nesting squares pattern that exists with the.
Why it's offset like that?
Yeah. What was the design purpose of that?
Well, there's a couple of main ideas there. One, we do have a side yard setback there that we, are trying to sort of respect. And we can obviously push within that and go to zoning and apply for a variance there. It's not quite a straight, it'll have to be offset even at zoning. We would have to step that back a little bit just because the garage isn't exactly parallel,
I see.
right?
I see.
So, but, just in terms of
Okay.
looking at the sort of circulation routes and everything, we felt like sort of, tucking around the corner here and getting that entry porch along the side was just a good location for that, right? So we sort of wanted to wrap around and bring it forward there instead of having to sort of walk all the way around and back and then up and all that, right? So, it could have been handled either way, really, right? Like that part could have been wrapped around the back and pushed over.
No, I see it
certainly.
now. I didn't notice the setback.
Yeah.
The existing garage is over the.
And that
over the
was something we
setback.
looked at, obviously, during schematic design, we explore a variety of approaches, right? This was just the one that seemed like it felt like it fit the house better than some of the other ones, and just from a functional standpoint, made the most sense.
Great. Anything else, Steve?
No.
Okay, very good. Any other questions come up? I heard one that came out of the staff report that was regarding the tree that's right behind, and it was just a question of, are we saving the tree? What's the plan with the tree?
Yeah, I don't actually know whether we're going to save that tree. I mean, that was something that you and I talked about on site, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just the reality of how close the foundation is going to have to be to that tree, I don't know that it would survive. I mean, I think we could certainly try to protect it as well as we could. It's not... it's not within the boundary of the proposed addition, but I would worry for its health long-term.
Yeah.
Whether we take it down as a part of the construction or whether it just simply dies.
Yes. Another question. You mentioned you got the feedback from staff about the proposal, and I'm just curious. Can you explain why the addition to the garage is where it is? There is a lot of room behind the garage.
Sure.
I realize there's a setback, but my understanding is it's an accessory building, so the accessory buildings can be built within the rear yard. So
Yeah,
what's going on
I
here?
mean, there's an existing structure there, and it's in pretty good shape. The
Yeah.
footings, the footings and the foundation are in pretty good shape. So, just from a practical standpoint in terms of, cost and everything else, it's nice to sort of reuse those structures when we can, and in this case, all else being equal,
Yeah.
we can.
Right.
So that would be the rationale for that. Now, having said that, I think if the committee felt like, this whole structure could be approved if we were to slide it back, I think we would probably do that.
Okay, well then
But-
I'm
but-
questioning,
but
why
it's
didn't
a-
you do
It's a
that?
zoning question, though, to some degree then, right?
But is it
Like-
a zoning question? Aren't you allowed to build in the rear yard?
Sure, but, this is sort of going into the side, like, it would certainly have to be revised somewhat, right? Like, we couldn't push it straight back as, we could push it back and jog it over, like, there's the, decreasing the, I forget what they call it, it's a non-conforming structure now, right? So,
Okay.
if we were to push it back, I don't know if they would make us bring it fully into compliance or not. I'm not exactly sure.
Could I-
Because, right,
Yeah, I would
Jump
like
in
to,
here.
I would love to hear you.
Stephen, did you talk to John Barrett, the zoning coordinator? Did you show him this plan?
yeah, he and I sort of went back and forth a few times.
Okay, okay.
As drawn, he's comfortable with it.
Okay, okay. All right, we'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, there was
I'll
it was
talk
a
to
question
John
of
about
access to the workout studio and whether that was sort of being accessed through the sort of common entry space or being accessed through the garage. If we sort of, because originally we sort of wanted, we had talked about doing it both ways, actually, sort of, putting it through the common entry and then having them wall that off at some point if they wanted to sort of rent that space out, at which point we would have to add an access point through the garage. And from a zoning perspective, that sort of meant that, combined, this was a 900 square foot ADU instead of a 700 square foot ADU.
Right.
So,
And
and
did-
the clients, they don't care, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
not, like, it's doesn't matter, so.
Did you talk to John about that side setback and how the garage
I
is
didn't,
currently non-conforming?
no.
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay.
I could certainly follow up with him on that.
Yeah, because since it's not currently a legally conforming accessory building, there is a question about that.
You're talking about the second story, building the second
Well-
story on top of the garage?
Whoever just mentioned that it's a non-conforming structure because it's not 5 feet or
Yeah,
from the lot line, or 3 feet or whatever.
Yeah.
ADUs per code are permitted as or within any legally conforming accessory building. And I'm concerned about that.
Oh.
3 feet on the north side of the garage, that's.
Oh, I
that's-
see. You think that they may interpret that, since we're going from 1 to 2 stories, as increasing the nonconformity instead of,
That's what I don't know.
yeah,
That's
okay.
what, and I don't,
Right, okay.
I only bring it up as something we need to check on.
That's a variance issue if it's anything, right? I mean, that's,
I don't think they give variances for ADUs that are
Okay.
non-conforming.
yeah, okay.
But it may be allowed, I don't know what the precedent is there for
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I'd have to
Or it may be
double check.
that
I
the
don't know
whole thing
that I
has to
sent
get
him-
moved over a couple feet to make it.
Well, no, I feel like I sent him essentially the same drawings I sent you.
Yeah.
So he should have, I didn't ask him about it specifically, but he
Okay.
should have seen
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, I wanted to know if you discussed it specifically, but I am not well-versed in the zoning
Okay.
Board of Appeals world and what they're allowing for ADUs right now, so.
Yeah,
We'll
no,
talk
I
to John
didn't.
about
I was
that.
mostly asking for clarification on the sort of interpretation,
Yeah,
whether he would consider that common entry as, part of the ADU, or whether he would consider that as a separate,
yeah. And that made sense, the
That
way
was
you
my
laid it out.
question. I didn't
Yeah.
ask him that specifically. I just sent him the drawings and said, what are your thoughts, basically?
Okay.
What are your concerns, thoughts,
All right, well-
So I sort of left it open-ended, and that was his only concern.
Okay, thank you very much. Did any other questions pop up?
Yeah, I have a
okay,
question.
great.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, I couldn't find the plans. Do you happen to know the ceiling height of the ADU above the garage?
It's tight.
Yeah.
I know that, when one of the things that we had to sort of deal with when we were lowering, I think the first time I sent this to Jill, we were matching the sort of the 712 roof pitch of the main original structure. And, when we looked at lowering down the plate heights and adding dormers and all that sort of stuff. We looked at going to a flat roof. We settled on this version here, which is going to a 612 roof pitch instead of the 712 roof pitch, which does match the dormers on the house. But the ceiling is, in this case, cathedral, and we're just a couple of inches above our sort of 7 foot, 7 foot, 7 foot habitable space requirements here at this height. So I don't, it's sloping.
Sure,
right?
yeah, so
Right.
at its lowest point, you think it's like,
The lowest point, oh geez, I didn't actually remember what the lowest point on that was. It's pretty low though. I mean, it's, I don't remember actually what that was. It was probably, somewhere in the 5-ish foot range, somewhere around that number.
sure.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I just know that I had to double check to make sure that we actually met our habitable space requirements there. And we do, but not by a lot.
Got it.
The original structure, we had the same problem on the second, in the bedrooms on the second floor when we were sort of, doing the work in there. It was tight. I mean, it was existing, so it wasn't really, but it was concerning nonetheless. Trying to get circulation routes through a house that has, sloped roofs and, really, really low plate heights is challenging.
Very well said. Okay, let's move on. We're going to go to the public hearing now, so you can take a seat. If we have more questions, though, we might call you back up to the podium. Thank you very much, Stephen. Okay, so the public hearing is now open for 514 6th Street. We don't have anyone present approaching the podium, and
We have no one in the Zoom.
and no one's in the Zoom. So we can close the public hearing. And we'll go to discussion and motion. So is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion on this item? Do you have
I can do it.
Thank you.
Find it though. One moment.
Doesn't have.
You're not
Yeah.
finding it, Ben, you're making it.
I make,
It's just a suggestion.
Well, it's a very well thought out and very well worded suggestion usually, so we'll,
all right, thank you. I move that the commission issues a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 514 6th Street, a contributing property to the Old West Side Historic District, to add a second floor and a 2-story addition to the non-contributing garage as proposed. The work is compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the rest of the building and the surrounding area, and meets the Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines, especially those for residential accessory structures, and the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular to standards 2, 9, and 10 in the guidelines for building site and district or neighborhood setting.
great. That was moved by Commissioner Calderon and seconded by Commissioner Kaplan. So, yeah, I think we've got a kind of a unique project here where we're talking about a non-contributing structure, so that makes things very easy typically. And then we're also talking about a very thorough application where, all the materials are really, it's really clear, the materials are very well chosen. Everything, the roof lines, everything about this project has been extremely well thought out and designed over many iterations to get to like this, this unique proposal. It really does seem that it just comes down to that corner of the garage and the corner of the house. Does anyone disagree with that? Are there other parts of this project that you think are, kind of worth commenting on or discussing?
I'm
Yeah,
not sure if it's worth it, but I'll
yeah,
shot
let's do
anyways.
it.
In almost every other circumstance, when there's an addition to a garage, I'm just visually hoping that there's more texture, like that there isn't just making it a big box.
Yeah.
Something about this particular project, I think it's a combination of how it fills the site, but also the existing nature of the house as it is has a extremely faceted, almost compound-like vibe to it. And adding the multifaceted lots of corners garage behind it, I think almost becomes overwhelming. Like there's a lot of corners. There's a lot of corners and angles going on if you look at the house as well as the site. And I'm not sure if that is, I think it becomes pertinent in what we do, in that texture starts to become a visual interference from an historic structure. I think that's where it starts to hit me as we have argued in the past that projects can, just out of their scale or their increased visibility for other purposes, start to compete with the historic structure that's there. And I think there's something about those corners, even if it wasn't close to the corner of the house. That's certainly another thing to be concerned about. But there's also just a lot of movement in those buildings.
I agree with that. That was sort of the sense I felt on the site, was that it just added kind of more complication to the whole view and wasn't, it was a lot of corners, like you said. It was sort of like, it felt like, and filling, and then sort of the addition of blocking in the view just makes it feel a little oppressive. And I think like just from the pedestrian view coming on the street, it would feel a little like it's all sort of, the house is exploding in every direction a little bit. So, which doesn't feel, in character with what's there.
Commissioner Calderon, do you have a comment on this? Are you agreeing with what you're hearing so far?
Yeah,
or do you have
I
a different
am.
take? Yeah, that's okay.
I was thinking more. I hadn't thought too much about the different roof changes and the corners and what you're talking about. I was more fixated on like the size of the building, and I was trying to wrap my head around where the threshold in my head is for a subordinate and a domineering additional building, and where this particular ADU garage stands in that. And it hasn't passed the point, and it's definitely near the center. I don't think it's particularly domineering or subordinate to the additional building, and I think maybe that itself is something to think about. But
Yeah, I'm just going to look at my notes here. Oh, just one total aside was in the application, it calls out for wood grain finish on the heart.
Siding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine if that's what the owner wants, but that's not our preference.
Oh, you prefer the smooth side?
If we could choose, we would choose smooth.
Sure. I
But,
think that-
so I just wanted to throw that out. It's not going to be a discussion point, but I just wanted to let you know.
I pulled that note sort of off of the original sort of HDC application
Yep.
from, some years ago. And it's possible that we had the same kind of, maybe not you.
Right. So total aside, but just take that for what it is.
It does say smooth side out on this page.
Oh,
but
good.
But it says wood grain side out on the details page.
On the details
Yeah,
page, okay,
yeah,
all right.
So,
So that's been noted.
It says smooth side out here.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe that was just a leftover.
Good.
Sheet. Okay. In any event, yeah.
I think just commenting on what you were just saying is, I do wonder if the overall feeling, if they were to build the plan as is, does it feel like the house just like extends into the garage, that they become sort of one massive thing? I think like in thinking about, yes, it's an ADU, yes, it's separate, yes, some of it is pushed to the back, but my worry, the thing I've been like mulling over is, does the overall impression feel like the house has just like fully expanded to go to the edge of the lot with the proposal as is? And I wonder if even like, if we could push it towards more of the rear of the property, would that recede and feel more subordinate and feel like this is a separate thing that doesn't touch the house as much? That's the thing I've been mulling over.
Yeah, I agree that would not be good. I don't know if that, I don't know if it'll have that feeling, but certainly from a certain angle, yes. Like as, when, it depends when you catch it, but yeah, if you
Right,
catch
right.
it at a certain angle, it's gonna look like a lot of a lot of structure.
Yeah.
I think that this application would be a much better application if the addition to the garage was pushed further back. I mean, that's the most obvious thing to say. But, I'll just throw that out there. It would be very easy to say yes, I think. Well, there'd still be issues maybe, because it's an ADU, it's big, but much easier, if this just was pushed back. I do think that the designer did a very heroic effort here trying to push for compatibility with the existing structure, with all of the roof lines and the massing, separating the massing into two different things and pushing as much of it back as they wanted to. So I'm not seeing an issue with compatibility. Like you have there's more of a compatibility. It's not just closeness, there's also like a compatibility thing. I think for me, I'm seeing a historic structure that's been added onto so many times that it's lost a lot of its character. And so I'm not as concerned that, I wish this was further away. I'm not as concerned that it's so close, because the existing structure has been added onto so many times that it doesn't seem as critical that it be like not having like an eave that's below it or something like that. So yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards it being compatible and appropriate. There's a note in the staff report that says the rear of the house was heavily modified with additions and alterations in the 1970s and 80s per aerial photographs. So that being said, though, it's not really that corner, though, right? I mean, there's the dormer, but yeah, that corner is, the historic corner. So that, there's things pulling me in both directions here. I guess the critical thing for me with the height is kind of that eave height, and we've got an eave height that's like just above the historic eave height, but then it's just below the dormer addition height. It's kind of nestled in there, so would be better if it was lower, but it's not, I don't know, kind of ridiculously high. But yeah, I think that I'm kind of seeing your, like, there's a lot going on there issue, and saying like, yeah, well, there's a lot going on there, so is this really, isn't it, aren't we already past the line of I mean, I don't know. And then the other thing is, it's obviously, even more than the dormer addition that we're looking at on this side, this is completely removable. Not that I would want anyone to remove it if it gets built, but, if you do want to kind of restore this to, historic, that back part to some historic level, you could obviously, let's just say it does fit that removal standard. But I think the big one is building site, right? So before we go to a vote or hear kind of final comments, Jill, can you pull up that building site, and let's just kind of be really sure here, and let's read through that one, because I think of all of them, I mean, that's the one that is really, to me at least, the crux of does this meet or not?
Hang on, computer freeze up.
It sounds like Commissioner Calderon is sort of, you and I maybe are in agreement on this, is things pulling this way and that here, and that it's really the building site. Like you said, is it subordinate or is it dominant or something, right? Yeah.
Is it standard or guidelines that you're looking for?
I think it was the building site, Secretary Interior guidelines, the
This one's
guidelines.
alteration of spaces. This one is.
It was after these, yeah.
Differentiated. This one is if removed in the future. So I think it's a guideline, probably.
Yeah,
there.
and 9 was the one that you were saying, right?
Yeah, 9 is
Because that's about compatible. Their
Compatible with
issue is that it's not
massing
compatible
size.
with this,
Yeah.
with this scale.
and
Okay.
its environment, property and its
Yeah.
environment.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I feel like I also keep coming back to with the way it sort of fills in that void and between the house and the garage, and like that through line where you can kind of get the filigree of the view. That's the place where, like, I hear you with the, like, what are we preserving when it's changed so much? But then I think that is really characteristic.
Well, the
of
garage,
neighborhood.
I don't know if it matters to you, but the garage is not a historic structure. The
No, I know,
garage
it's,
is-
so that's
not
more.
contributing.
No, that I know, I think it's the overall environment, like the interplay between those
enough.
elements.
Yep.
That's it for me, yeah.
Let's just finish here, possibly, yeah. Yeah, I think it's this one. It was that one right there. Or these two, you know,
These two.
yeah.
Yeah, introducing a new building that's out of scale or otherwise inappropriate, and introducing new construction that's visually incompatible.
I think it's this
in terms
one,
of
yeah.
Size, scale, design, materials, color, and texture, or which destroys historic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, if you have a quick comment, you have to come to the podium. Come to the podium, please.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I know we're sort of talking a little bit, or a lot, there's a lot of discussion about the sort of location and the closeness to the house. One thing that I do think that's not being discussed is the sort of openness that exists through that whole string of yards right now. You know, remember, as we were there, if you sort of go to the back of the property behind the proposed structure here, it's really nice. There's really nice sightlines all up and down that whole part of the block. And if we were to sort of push back into that, it would really alter that for everyone who lives there. So I just wanted to mention that.
I appreciate you adding something new to this, to the discussion, so that was a very helpful comment, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do think there is something to that. There's the existing garage footings, they're there, they are where they are. They're 42-inch deep frost footings, we were talking about it on site, and that is also a nice part, that those can be reused for the project. I mean, that doesn't mean that you get to build a two-story building necessarily, but I don't know. For me, it does kind of add to the whole story of, is this the right place to put this thing or not? Okay, so do you have another comment, or, yeah, okay. Any more comments? All right. It seems like we've got a split commission here. So I would just want to say, yeah, I think this is very close to being, it's close to being inappropriately too close to the house. But for all the other reasons, I feel like this is, basically just like the really careful design of the structure is allowing me to say that this is, to me, compatible with this particular, like what is existing there in the back of this particular house. So that's where I'm at. And I would love to just hear like a summary of kind of where either you or Commissioner Nesbitt stand, just to kind of hear. Do either of you just want to restate quickly kind of where you're at?
I'm torn.
Okay.
I think just in a vacuum, if I'm looking at the site, the busyness bothers me. But I don't know that that the context of that is valuable here. And in general, I have an overriding, I'm aware of, and I know how hard it is to try to fit a modern life into a small historic house. Like there's a pressure to, I like to see these things reused. I like people living in these houses, and I know that you have to add quite a bit to them sometimes because they started out very small and the way we live in houses is different. So when I'm on the fence, I think that instinct maybe pulls me into giving it the benefit of the doubt.
Okay. Commissioner Nisbet, will you restate your case here?
I think I feel similarly in a lot of ways torn, because I similarly feel like I like being able to have people have flexibility with how they use their homes and being able to like really live in these places. But I do feel like I still kind of have the concerns about how it changes how it is not feel compatible with what's in the neighborhood. And especially I think in some ways when we think about it, how it relates to the house itself with all of those additions, it's like, okay, sure, we've kind of moved away from a fully, a place that's totally a contributing structure through and through. But I do feel like it is that, the thing that I think maybe the place I'm most stuck is just like preserving that relationship in the environment. Like where if you're walking as a pedestrian, you just feel like you're like walking past a house for 100 years. Like it's just like being attacked by, and how does that, and balancing that with the experience of the neighbors too, right? Like, so like the pedestrian experience and the neighborhood experience versus like if you are an actual neighbor of that building, how do you feel even if we ask them to push it farther back? So I'm also torn, but I'm leaning a little bit towards wanting it to, I'm curious if there's a way to like keep this addition, but have it just match a little bit better. That's my feeling.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think we've heard the discussion, but are you ready to vote? Because we've got torn people. Okay, let's go to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, I heard 3 yeses and 1 no. So the motion carries, and your application has been approved. Yeah. Thank you very much, Steve. Okay. So now, that was the only hearing. We'll move on. And we've kind of been through this once already, but now that we have the quorum, we can do more stuff here. And so the first thing we'll move to is onto item G. It's new business. And I don't know if we can do this or not. Jill, can we talk about the nominating committee without our nominating officer here? Or do we have to postpone that till next month? Commissioner Smith was our nominating committee, and he's not here.
This is October?
Yeah, can we talk about this in November, or are
can
we
talk about
in
this
trouble?
November.
Okay,
If
good.
he's not here in November, we're going to have to do it without him.
We'll have to nominate a new nominating committee.
We're already-
Yeah, that's fine.
We've
That
got-
shouldn't be too hard.
We've got a full commission, but we're short an officer.
Right, yeah, so we better get that taken care of soon.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, very good. We will postpone that new business. That will become old business.
Have a good one.
No, you're good. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Good night.
Okay, and then we had minutes, but I actually, did anyone see that there were minutes? Because when I checked, they hadn't been posted yet, but, okay, I don't know if this September, so again, we'll do that in November also. I didn't actually see them, if they were there or not.
Okay,
Or when I looked, they weren't there, but I haven't looked since a couple days.
okay, that's fine, thank you.
We will take care of that. Are there reports from commissioners? No. Are you interested in being on the assignment, the review committee next month? Yeah, okay. That'll be November 10th at noon. It's a noon, okay.
Thank you,
Very good.
Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
And Sarah?
Yeah, you'll be on that with Commissioner Nisbet. And now we've gotten the report from staff about the annual retreat. There was, just to repeat it for Commissioner Kaplan, we think that November 8th is going to be the date, but there are no hearings scheduled for next month. And Jill made so far, there probably will be one or two, maybe. But Jill made the excellent idea of, well, let's just have it during the meeting. If we, basically after the meeting. We'd have the meeting, then we'd have a truncated annual meeting. Yeah, we all thought that was a fantastic idea.
Can we sell
thought you might.
bagels?
Ooh, is that appropriate?
Maybe I can get something more evening appropriate.
Yeah, evening appropriate snack would be great.
Stop.
That was an excellent comment, Commissioner Calderon. Thank you very much.
Think for the people.
Yes. Okay. Are there any concerns of commissioners? Okay. I don't think there were any communications this month, but I will ask staff if there are any.
There are no communications.
Very good. In that
Can I
case,
say one more thing before you adjourn?
absolutely.
As we were sitting here, I was writing down potential future design guidelines for ADUs, for
Yeah.
accessory structures. We've now been through a couple of big ADUs and kind of struggled with both of them. So before we thought just the accessory structure language might be enough, but I'm wondering if maybe it's not. So I might come back to you guys with a proposal for some new design guidelines.
Okay.
Did
Even
we
just a
not
little-
discuss
even just
ADU?
a little bit of structure.
Yeah,
you know.
that would be nice. Because they're big.
Yeah.
But we didn't discuss ADUs during our whole rewrite of it didn't come up, huh?
No,
Yeah.
because they're just lumped in with
It's just
garages and
accessory,
sheds
yeah,
and-
right.
Yeah, yeah. And this doesn't have to be specific to ADUs because it doesn't have to be an ADU.
Right,
you
it could
know.
still be
It
just
could
a
still be
really
just a
big
really
accessory structure.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's something about an ADU where it's like, if you want an ADU, well, there's a lot of requirements that go into that, and it just seems to fight against the standards, but also it's like, well, it kind of gives the application something to stand, there's something there where it's like you're not just wanting a big yoga studio or something.
Yeah.
You're trying to add to the density of the city, and the city wants ADUs.
Yeah.
To me, there's something, you don't have to build an ADU. Like you said, you could just build a really big addition to your garage, So I don't know. I agree. I think there should be something specific because it's a totally different thing in my head.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. That's it, thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, let's adjourn the October 9th, 2025 meeting at 8:19 PM. It's a little later than maybe we thought, but